Hey y'all, welcome to the first ever virtual natural history tour of Brackenridge Field Lab, brought to you by Science Under the Stars. We're really excited to have you with us today to learn about some natural history. My name is Colin Morrison and I'm a graduate student in Integrative Biology. I study plants and insects and I'm going to be guiding the tour today. Let's start by getting a feeling for where we're at. This is the BFL location down here in southwest Austin. Let's take a view up. This is a drone photo showing the property looking west towards the Tom Miller Dam. 180 degrees, looking east towards Mopac and downtown Austin. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go on a little excursion through several of the key ecosystems that define BFL. I'm going to talk about why those ecosystems are important, why they came to be, and we're going to showcase some of the organisms that are found in those spots. This is a map of the virtual tour that we're going to take today. So we'll start here walking into the building from the parking lot at BFL. Walk past the leafcutter ants, and we're going to meet up out here in the breezeway and rally for the tour. From here, we'll begin our journey, and we'll pass these giant greenhouses. These greenhouses were built by the director of BFL, Larry Gilbert, who's also my advisor. And here, we study tropical butterflies and plants, because it's easier to bring the butterflies and plants up here to study than to have to go down to the field all the time. This is a roost of zebra long-winged butterflies. They get together communally at night to avoid predation by bats. All right, heading back out onto the trail that we're going to walk down towards the Colorado River. The first ecosystem that we're going to pass on our journey is the Quarry ecosystem. The Quarry is defined by oak and cedar and a number of shade-tolerant species. Here's a little image of what it looks like. You've got this limestone slabs, very typical of the Edwards Plateau, that creates a number of different microhabitats for organisms to exist in. You can find some really neat creatures here, like this ring-tailed cat, a relative of the raccoon. This photo was taken from a camera trap about a year ago. You might look through some decaying wood and find a Texas coral snake living in this habitat. And really important here, this is a porcupine. This is the first porcupine that's been seen in Travis County for a couple of decades. This porcupine is able to persist in this habitat as a testament to the ability of nature to rejuvenate itself. More than animals, in this quarry there exist 3 species of orchid native to Texas. These orchids are in the genus Hexalectris, and they are very, very rare, but they have found a way to persist in this quarry habitat. Further on that point, you see this ant riding on top of this other ant. The ant riding on top is called the rodeo ant, and this is a new species. This is a queen of this species that is hitching a ride on this other ant. This was discovered and described for the first time from the quarry habitat of BFL. Now we're going to move on to the next system, which is defined by mesquite savanna, prairie, and mixed deciduous hardwood forest. You pass this trail that divides the property more or less with the quarry habitat to the left of the picture and this new habitat to the right. This is an example of a climax prairie late fall. This is a very well-preserved natural ecosystem that found at BFL. This kind of system is very good for sustainable gardening, as these folks are working on back in 1980. Here's a photo of the seeds that they sowed a couple of months later and the fruits of their labor. There was a lot of work going on at that time into sunflowers, the ecology and evolution of sunflowers. They do very well in a rich soil environment like this. These plants are host to the bordered patch butterfly, exclusively consuming sunflowers. More than that, there's all kinds of annual of plants that grow in this environment, hosting many different butterfly species, as well as bees that can pollinate the annuals growing here, like the silver nightshade. There's all these interesting bugs that you might find in this environment, like this lacewing bug eating Texas lantana, and beetles. Of course, there's many beetles that are able to consume the variety of plants that are found growing in this open ecosystem. Here's some more leaf beetles that are consuming prickly ash, a lime tree relative in central Texas. The central meadows are where a lot of the experimental infrastructure exists at BFL. This is an enclosure. This is designed to keep animals in or out so that researchers can understand how their presence affects the ecology of the area. This is the same spot that photo was taken a few years ago. Walking down the path through the central meadows, you'll run into Texas leafcutter ant colonies. The Texas leafcutter ant is the northernmost species of leafcutter ant. Here's an image of daughter queens emerging from that same colony to go on their mating flight, where they're going to go off and they're going to start their own colonies. A single queen can live for 15 years easily. In addition to the arthropods, this part of the property is full of majestic wildlife like this white-tailed deer buck. Here's a fawn and a doe as well. You've got all kinds of cool mammals here like this skunk and this red fox. This is a great habitat for lizards like this Texas spiny lizard living in the leaf litter. And of course, the armadillo, the Texas state small mammal, having great fun looking for worms. Now we're going to take a little diversion off to the east side of the property into what I will refer to as the ponds ecosystem. Over time, there's been a number of artificial and semi-natural ponds that have been leveraged here at BFL for the study of aquatic ecology. These ponds are a very unique ecosystem on the property that provide great habitat for things like snapping turtles, these green tree frogs perched on foliage around the ponds, and bullfrogs with a very conspicuous call that can be heard every summer at BFL. In addition, this kind of a habitat is a great refuge for top predators like the night heron. And this is the kind of habitat that's a great refuge for mammals like the raccoon. They can come here to drink and search for prey. Now we're going to start to move our way down to the final ecosystem on the tour. This is what I'm going to refer to as the riparian ecosystem along the Colorado River, defined by a heavy deposition of sand that we'll get to in a minute. So you begin your journey along the Colorado River on the stream trail, taking you over this bridge over the drainage creek that comes from the municipal golf course across the street from BFL. This municipal drainage has resulted in a very nice and a very unique habitat at BFL, the limestone canyon, very moist, full of ferns and algal growth. Now back to the sand. So I said that the limestone was mined from the Quarry for the first Tom Miller Dam. Well, that dam failed catastrophically in 1900, resulting in a tidal wave of sand, debris, and water going down the Colorado River, burying the embankments in 20 to 30 feet of sand. This is a pecan orchard on the BFL property, about 1901. Many of the trees that were buried in that sand have survived till this day, including this oak tree right here. It's provided a really nice opportunity for undergrads and researchers to study the effect of this human disturbance on the ecology of the area. This is a pecan tree that was buried in 20 feet of sand, to give you a little perspective of how that tree's been able to persist. Like the other ecosystems at BFL, the riparian zone is host to a unique assemblage of organisms like this turkey. Here's a fox squirrel that's eating pecans from those buried trees in the orchards in 1900. This is a very nice ecosystem for perching birds like this Carolina chickadee here in a cottonwood. There's a number of predators that find refuge here, like this hognose snake and this Cooper's hawk. In addition to vertebrates, arthropods do very well in the sandy ecosystem, like this velvet ant, which is only found in sandy ecosystems. This is a woolly bear caterpillar that's consuming dogbane, and dogbane would only grow in an area like this at BFL. Woolly bear caterpillars turn into tiger moths, and we have a very nice assemblage of tiger moths found in this part of the property. You have to take my word on this one, but that is not a wasp, that is a moth. Take a look at the abdomen and the antenna. This is a clearwing moth. Now, it's nice to end with a little bit of an explanation of the value of BFL to people. BFL has been an incredible foundation for learning and teaching young undergrads at the University of Texas how environmental science works, understand about the principles of ecology, and how they could apply those principles to bettering society, whether that's in Austin, Texas, the United States, or around the world. Big shout out here to the gentleman on the left. This is Dr. Rob Plows, who has been managing BFL for many years, doing an incredible job keeping the facility operating. This is John Crutchfield, the predecessor to Dr. Plows. Grad students have had a great experience working at BFL, published in hundreds of peer-reviewed journals, as well as full professors. And the search for new species continues, with more inventories resulting in new species all the time at this place. Well, we're about at the end of the tour, y'all. I really appreciate you taking the time to follow along here. This is really a nice privilege to be able to share what we know about the system and to try to stir up some interest amongst the public. This is the first take on virtual natural history tour, so we would really like to get some feedback from y'all about what you think was cool, what you'd like to see more of, as well as if you have any questions about what you saw today or about what you're seeing in your backyard, send me an email, crmorrison@utexas.edu. Stay well, y'all. We're not going anywhere. Enjoy the talk.